Hello, everyone. This is Harpreet from Right at Home in Corona. We are here with Mike. He is son of one of our veteran clients. Mike, can you introduce yourself in few words?
Hi, my name's Mike. I've worked with Caprice in a few different areas, and I've met her at the initial intake, and I worked with Right at Home, and I'm very happy with them.
Thank you so much for that quick introduction. So the goal of this recording is today to have some questions and some brainstorming session with you today, Mike.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
getting into our first one here, at what point did you realize that your dad needed additional support at home, and did the US Department of Veteran Affairs help guide you toward that care?
So it was actually Thanksgiving when my dad had a problem. He was just losing a lot of weight, and we decided to bring him into the VA. So we brought him in there. He got diagnosed, and they kept him for a few days. And when he came back, obviously he found out he had cancer. So we were kind of looking at different options. The VA recommended a few different agencies. So we were very open to obviously, the more choices you have, the better. So that's when I met Caprice at Right at Home.
Okay. And then before starting services, what concerns or uncertainties did you have about using VA supported home care?
You hear a lot of things about the VA. Obviously, if you watch the news, which I try not to, and you hear different things. The VA is good, the VA is bad. We didn't know what to expect, so we just wanted to go out there and make our own judgment. So there's a few different agencies that went out there, and Right at Home went first, and sometimes that's the hardest because then the last person will say, "Well, what didn't I cover?" Or we have better questions for the last company. Like I said, Caprice went first, and they went great. I mean, she answered all of our questions, obviously, and more, and we were more impressed with her, and that's why we ended up going with Right at Home.
Sure, thank you. And can you share a moment or experience where our caregivers made a meaningful difference in your dad's daily life?
Well, there's a lot of them. I think the biggest thing for me is punctuality, especially since my mom is living alone, and I was there quite a bit. But yeah, I punctuality is huge, right? I mean, you don't show up on time, then you're stressful right from the beginning. Just talking to them and just kind of treating my mom and my dad with respect. I think that was huge. And another thing, and this is probably, I don't know if it's allowed or not, but you know when you're end of life, if you're religious or not or spiritual, you always try to find a common ground with other people and what's going to happen next. So we started reading from the Bible, and one of the caregivers didn't have a problem with it doing that, had no problem whatsoever. And that was huge because it just showed that they cared even more. And one time I remember I'm crying, he's crying, she's crying, just all having a moment. But yeah, that was probably the one moment I knew that this was the right company or the right person, to be with my dad end of life.
That's definitely huge. Definitely, timeliness is the key. And then someone to bond as a family is huge,
Yeah.
very special,
Yep.
yes, I would say.
Yep.
And how did working with Right at Home make the VA care process easier for you and your family?
Well, I mean, going in, so I was in charge of like making schedule, making sure everything was right. And we'd talk about it as a family, and we'd say, okay, it's going to be from 12 to 4, and then we're going to have a break from 6 to 11, and then 11 to 7. And then we all agree. I call in. I don't know the person's name, but she was great to work with. And then 3 hours later, we're like, that's not the right schedule. Okay, we're not doing that. We're going to do that. So we totally switched the schedule. And, as a business owner, I know how that can really hamper someone. Of course, you're really nice on the phone, but you're like, this is really annoying. They keep doing this. But we did it for the best interest of us. I mean, it wasn't about, right at home. It wasn't about anyone. We had to just do it for us. So we changed quite a bit. And I think that when I just calling in made it easier. When my mom said, "Hey, can you change that?" I didn't like get weirded out knowing that it would be weird for them. No, they're like, "Okay, perfect. Not a problem." As far as the caregivers, you do get attached to different caregivers. And of course we want the same one over and over and over again, and we didn't get that, but we got them as much as we could. We got them 6 out of the 7 days. And what they said was, look, if you get them 7 out of 7, if they're not here for some reason, maybe they have another obligation, that might be a problem for you because you won't know someone, or if someone had to call out late or that person to call late, then you'd be in a panic. So it's for your best interest not to have the same person over and over and over again. And yeah, that just them working with us. And because I know they have other clients. I mean, we're not the only one, but of course, when we're sitting around our family circle, around a dinner table, we're the only one that cares. I mean, it's us. It's not Right at Home. It's us. And Right at Home made us feel like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember Stacy from office was working on it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
she's really passionate about, assisting seniors, understanding their pain points and making sure they get what they need. That's a
Yeah.
huge differentiator, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that together. And then now looking back, what would you tell other families of veterans who are unsure about using their VA benefits for in-home care?
Well, I mean, the VA was awesome. I mean, they have good recommendations. The other agencies that came out there were really good. It wasn't like an easy choice. I mean, it was a conversation at a few different points in time. We were going to go with the other agency, and then we just kept talking about it, different talking points, and like it came down to the hustle. So I'm a business owner. I talk to a lot of people every day. I understand that. When I talked to Caprice, it was the hustle and the passion. It was determination that made us switch there. I knew that she was just going to, what she didn't know, she was going to make up in hustle. She was going to make up in compassion. And, you just can't teach that. You don't have that at birth. Excuse me, you might have that at birth, but it's hard to be taught that, that I'm going to get this thing done constantly. And that's why I did that, so great for the VA for doing that. I mean, this isn't a whole lot to do with Right at Home, but their hospice program was really good too. So the VA, my book is great. I don't care what you hear on the news or what your friend told you. Our experience was great with the VA. I have no problem with the VA.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time today, Mike, and I really appreciate all your answers and coming out and assisting us with this interview.
Yeah, yeah, and just to let obviously, well, not obviously, you don't know my mom, but my mom is going to be in home care. She's continued to be in home care, so we're ongoing. I mean, if I was going to switch, this would be the time to switch, and we're not switching because we're very happy with Right at Home. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I really appreciate it. Have a great
No
day.
problem. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.